There we are, guys, May 2026. For all of you who are new, there's our contact information, JBJC. Thanks for joining us. We'll put this back up at the end in case you need a number. But what are we going to go over today? As we promised, the first thing we'll talk about every Zoom webinar is the 34 Rules of Reformation update. Get that out of the way so you know what's going on. We have a couple of major state issues we're going to tell you about in Michigan and Virginia. We have that very wonderful and not so pretty 4473 draft that we are going to give you some high-level generalities of. We're not going to get nitty-gritty on all of the detail because it just broke on Friday, and obviously this will be going through a lot of challenge, comment, and continued revision. So, but we will look at it and tell you what you need to know and what to do today. We got a couple critical, very important lawsuits that dropped in Colorado last week. You need to know about it. Will affect the entire country, we believe. Tell you more about that, but we're very excited about what Harmeet Dillon out of our Department of Justice is doing for the Second Amendment, industry and non-licensees. And we'll finish with our rapid fire Q&A. So, JC, I think we're going to take it away, huh?
All right, so Rob Sakata has been commissioned and confirmed as the new ATF director. Obviously, we've got 2.5 more years. Hopefully, the Republicans keep it, and he'll remain in place. So the nice thing about Rob is he is really focused on both Rob Sakata and Rob Leiter are both focused on kind of restoring more common sense as it relates to the ATF. Getting away or trying to block or prevent a zero tolerance occurrence from happening again. So, his position really is, as the quote here says, focused on the criminal. Let's not worry about demonizing an individual firearm or going after an industry who is innocent of many things, and let's start focusing on those criminal investigations and what really matters as far as public safety is concerned. And with that, the way things work at the ATF, when you're an acting director, you have limited powers. With him becoming confirmed and commissioned, he is actually able to push down new rules and make changes to regulations, etc., as an agency. So what was handed down last Friday, if you didn't check it out, we did a video last Friday on the new era of reform, the ATF Landmark Regulatory Reform Package that was pushed down last week. A lot going on here, a lot to review. 34 total rules handed down. 26 of those are NPRMs, which is a notice of proposed rulemaking. Most of these are 60 to 90 days, basically out there for public comment. We had 6 final rules, 1 direct final, and 1 interim final. So we're just going to touch at a high level on much of what happened. So, all right. So you got 5 buckets: repeal, modernize, reduce burden, clarify, and align. If you haven't gotten this PDF document, check it out on our website. You can download it. You got to do a little digging to get on the ATF website to find it. So we just tried to make it easy for you. But repeal, rescind the rules, modernize, update compliance and record keeping to current technology, just bringing the ATF and the regulations and such into that 21st century model. Reduce the burden. The reduce the burden is kind of twofold. When we talk about reducing burden, it really is reducing the burden not only on you as FFLs, but also reduce the burden on the non-licensee, the individual completing the form. So as well as the ATF NFA division, some of this stuff has to do directly with NFA as well. So there's some nice changes there. So clarify, there's some ambiguity between agencies and information and how it's presented, as far as a lot of it has to do with import export and some NFA stuff, some manufacturing issues, etc. And then align, conform the ATF text statute, case law, and partner agency actions. So, there's been a lot going on over the years as far as case law and things of that nature. So they're revising statutes, regulations to what the courts have found as far as things like the arm brace and the what you call bump stock and things like that. So let's break it down. Number one, the real repeal part. We're just like I said, we went over this on Friday, so we're not going to get too in the weeds, but we'll run through these fairly quickly. Stabilizing braces completely rescinds that. If you're unaware, the stabilizing brace ruling went away, and the big thing there is obviously, be careful with your customers and make sure that they're not shouldering a pistol braced firearm. You want to make sure that they understand, hey, listen, there's no more $200 tax. So go ahead and, you want an SBR, let's get you an SBR. Engage in the business. This actually rolls back what happened in 2024, where they basically came down with a ruling and said if you sold one gun, you would be considered, or you possibly would be considered engaged in the business. It goes back to kind of the old definition of engaged in the business, meaning you are doing it for profit on a recurring basis. Bump stocks, obviously, that final rule was done away with by the courts. This just sets that in concrete fashion, so to speak. And then the big one on this one is that Youth Handgun Safety Act notice. The proposal now, these are proposed. This has not happened yet. But the proposal to remove the requirement to put up the sign and to hand out those Youth Handgun Safety Act brochures with every handgun. So that all goes away once this rule is in effect. So moving on to the next set, modernized group. All right, this is about the 4473, and we'll get into that. 4473 modernization is very interesting to me that they use the word modernization. It's a paper form. I don't know how modern it got, but it's definitely interesting. 16-1, -2, 2022-1, etc. So, there's a lot there. Record retention, they're considering going back instead of keeping records for all times. They're considering going back to either maintaining 20 or 30 years worth. So, another big one for FFLs, and we'll provide some clarity on this. FFL Easy Check. FFL Easy Check can now be the sole proof evidence that you checked another FFL's status, their address, etc. You can just utilize the FFL Easy Check system instead of requiring a copy of their FFL. So again, this is proposed. It's not in place yet, so you still have to request a copy. One thing about this that's, provides some clarity is the fact that for years now, FFLs have thought that they had to maintain a file of all FFLs that they interact, engage with, ship to, etc. That's never been the case. You've never had to keep them. You were only required to receive them and verify it. So all of that's going to go away now. A big one that we'll talk in more detail to as well, should be of interest to everybody on the call. NOTC transfers, that's that non-over-the-counter transfer. I know over the years we've received a lot of phone calls about NOTC sales and how to execute them, etc. We're going to go into more detail on that, but there's some changes around that as well. That really is modernization when you take a look at the depth and breadth of that rule. There's definitely some questions there that we all need to get our heads wrapped around. Moving on to number 3, reduced burden group, NFA and transport relief. A lot of this has to do with some of the back end things. Plastic explosives probably not of relevance to you all, but the SOT obligation clarifies SOT is owned per business activity at a given location. So right now, if say you're in a strip center and you have 2 suites in that strip center, some of the changes that are coming are around whether or not you need to have an SOT for both locations if you're operating out of each one. So Suite A and say you're in Suite B as well, and it's not connected in any way. A little less burdensome, reduced burden on not only the dealers involved in this, but machine gun dealer samples when a 7.2 goes out of business. They have the ability to sell those machine guns to another 7.2. There's a lot of different things that are required as it relates to that process, so they're cleaning that up a little bit. FOPA transport, this is all about transportation of firearms and interstate transport of firearms. So I'm just clearing that up. CLIO notification, remove the requirement to forward NFA applications. That's your Form 4s to the CLIO when you get approved or when you're submitting an application for an NFA firearm. The big one, joint spousal NFA. We deal with this a lot with you all, where a spouse dies and the wife is left holding the bag, or vice versa. And what does that mean, and how do they go through that process? So a little less burden on the surviving spouse, because now it'll be a joint NFA registration. Be interesting to see how this language looks in relation to trusts and such. So, but it also relieves the NFA division a little bit, because obviously they have to get the paperwork, they have to take a look at the entire situation, transfer it, etc. So that's it for reduced burden. So as you can see, there's a lot of changes on both sides of the fence. Make things a little less restrictive, free up some of the time of those examiners so they can get those Form 4s approved for you. Number 4, clarify group. Business premises, I just talked about this. A new definition of willfully, so it'll be harder to take your license in zero tolerance situations. Now there is a actual defined wording for the definition of willfully. Some new language around straw purchases. We'll talk about that on the new 4473. Clearing up of the requirements around becoming a NICS exempt state, the Brady permit exception. It actually provides a little clearer language for states to understand what the requirements are to become a NICS exempt state. Biological sex on ATF forms, that will be going away, and we'll go over the new form 4473 here shortly. But it's going to be biological sex only, male, female, no more non-binary. Carrier travel and common carrier, this is related to delivery to the carrier and what that looks like from an FFL standpoint. I don't think much is going to change there. It's just some language changes there. And then the training rounds, dual use barrels, things of that nature. This is around NFA markings and mental health terminology, just clearing up some of the language that's used so it's more apparent to an individual reading the regulation, so they understand what the definitions of certain things are, or what activities are permissible and not permissible, etc. And number 5, which is, I believe, the last slide here, the aligned group, statutes, courts, commerce, state, and NFA tax rules. So the Form 1 making application and the final rule will codify the ATF's existing practice of conducting NICS check as part of the NFA making approval. Just some clarity there. Mostly conforming cleanup rule, not a major operational change for that. Doesn't really have much to do with you, considering you may only be helping an individual with that Form 1. So export control reform, some prescribed countries. This is just aligning themselves with court cases where judgments have been handed down to either roll back certain rules or to clean up language that it more closely aligns with other agencies and their frameworks. And do we have one more?
Oh, sorry about that.
Hey, there you go. All right, so a lot of this is very favorable to the industry for sure. The big thing here is that you really need to start reviewing these, and we're going to be sending out information on every one of the rules. I apologize if you seem a little inundated, but we want to educate you and make sure you're knowledgeable about what those changes mean to you as a business, as an FFL. So next Monday, we have the meeting with ATF headquarters to review much of these changes and ask questions, etc. So we can start putting together some logical responses to these things. So please, if you're going to respond to them, this is your opportunity. But let's make sure that your responses aren't, Abolish the ATF. Give them meaningful content and how these rule changes apply to your business. That's really important for them to gain an understanding. Remember, these are regulators, right? These are law enforcement and regulators at the government level, federal government level. They don't necessarily understand how your business works. So it's really important for you to deliver that feedback. And if you have any questions, obviously we're always here for you. So um, all of this is proposed. Nothing is set in stone yet. Most of this is either 60 or 90 days for comment. We'll talk about the new 4473 here in a moment, but just so you're aware, the new 4473 is open for 90 days of comments. So review it, read through it, print it off, walk through a transaction with the new form just in your head, and see how that new form really relates to your business. That'll help you give positive, negative feedback with regard to that form. At the end of that 90-day period, they're going to ingest those comments. They're ingesting them as they're coming in now. And they're going to provide any changes to the draft, etc., if they deem it appropriate. There will be at least a 120-day window. Once that proposed rule is completed and goes into effect, they've got to give all of the solution providers out there time to revise their software platforms. So there'll be a period of time where you can either opt to adopt the new form or not adopt the new form until it's required. All
Uh,
right.
Yeah, and just a reminder, for any of those folks coming in late, this is being recorded and we'll send it all out to you by the end of today. Sorry about that. JC, yeah, this is a high level. Again, we do have a complete review of the five buckets, as we call them, out
Right.
on our channel on YouTube. If you want to grab them there, go back and look at all more of the detail. But again,
Yeah.
we will be keeping you updated on a weekly basis. We'll talk more about that later, how we're going to do that. So you don't have to dig into it, but you'll hear now about some of the more concerning issues we have, especially when we get to the 4473 and the commenting piece that really sits on your shoulders for letting the ATF know how the changes will either positively or negatively affect your day-to-day operations, your business, and your longevity. So want to spend some time on this one. And I want to thank Grant, if Grant's on here today, and Mike and Chuck and Tom. And I know there's a few others of you who all badgered me and attacked me on Friday asking me my opinion on the non-over-the-counter transfer revision. And I said, let me dig into it. And that's what we did all weekend. And we got some concerns. And like you heard JC say, he's going to be conferring with ATF next Monday, a week from today. So on all the nitty-gritty details, concerns, and questions we have as we move forward. But the non-over-the-counter transfer has been in place for ever,
Yeah.
long time. And
1968.
yeah, and it offered the opportunity for folks to get a firearm sent to them based on many different hoops and hurdles that had to be managed and navigated. And what this is doing, this non-over-the-counter, the NOTC, is something you all got to dig into. I don't care who you are, because it can affect you either positively or negatively. And that was the eye-opening conversations I've had. So I'm going to tell you what this is all about. As you read it, you'll see that it's basically allowing, as long as the customer is residing within the state where you are licensed, it's allowing you to electronically complete the sale, purchase, exchange of monies, application of the 4473, the background check process, all to occur electronically without visiting the location. And then, if that all goes through, allegedly, the dealer can have the gun shipped to the recipient who passed the background check and completed this form electronically and provided all of the required documentation for identification. Wow. Okay. I thought you guys would be like jumping through hoops here, dropping questions in this chat box here. If you just heard me, what our interpretation of this is, we might have a mail order gun buying system soup to nuts. And that's what we are deciphering at this point. And again, we'll have lots of questions on this next week. So, if finalized broadly, the convenience may beat locality, meaning you may not have foot traffic. The guy down the block with all of these pieces in place may be stealing your business. In my opinion, that's bad. How can maybe some big box retailers might decide to load a lot of money into this program and get it all in place within 2 to 3 months and all of a sudden start gobbling up all the gun sales in your state. This one's big, guys. Very big. So, hey, and I think, my opinion, we haven't talked to the ATF yet, but did somebody say, wow, we need to take all this gobbledygook that's out there and makes it hard and just make things easier based on technology and the way gun dealers are really doing things today? And there may have been some oversight as to the impact, the true impact on the little guy, the business. Or it could be a big guy. It could be a big farm and ranch store, somebody who just doesn't want to invest in the technology or the process, but sells, 1,000 or 2,000 guns a month. That might fall to someone else going forward. So this is big. This is big. Yeah, there's convenience, and you can sell to everyone within your state. You have to have the firearms in your place, your licensed premises. You can't drop ship them from out of state, that type of thing. But this one needs a review, I think, by everyone, whether you want to run fast with this or you don't have the ability to run fast with this and understanding how it might affect your business. And again, we had a lot of questions, but we want to put this out there because we'd be remiss if we gleaned over and said everything the ATF's putting forward as far as rulemaking goes is great, because sometimes it's not. And of course, they are the government agency and may not understand the business impact that it can truly have on your commerce. So there's definitely some small dealer risks. Okay. Negative effects are reducing, obviously, the walk-in traffic, selling ammos, upselling add-ons. Maybe you got a range. Maybe you like that foot traffic to solicit new range members when they come to pick up an FFL transfer. Well, according to this, a lot of that goes away. A lot of this can happen by shipping direct to a customer who passes all the qualifications and fills out the electronic requirements and never visits a gun dealer. Okay. The loose ends are here: remote identity standards, there's fraud liability, proof of delivery issues, chargebacks and credit card fraud. I mean, there's so many, there's stolen packages and how's that adult signature required program working for you, if at all? Struck purchases and red flags. So if there was a place to comment, if you did nothing else this year regarding all of these new rules and regulations, this might be one you bite into. It will not be allowed in any state where there's other conflicts or requirements, where, there's a permit to purchase required maybe to be shown to a dealer and that type of thing. Some states have that, but the majority of you guys don't. So this can have a tremendous impact on small business. Let's see, possible advantages for FFLs. Hey, if you get into this and get in good, all of a sudden your business can blossom. It can mushroom into something if you're able to get this all in place and ship guns to customers 4 hours away who just wanted what you had online, and the other guys didn't, and they didn't want to drive, and you didn't want to ship it up to a dealer near them. You can acquire so many new customers, but then the flip side is what happens to everybody else. So, without getting all the detail, again, these slides will be included, obviously, and these will be included as a PDF for you with the recording this afternoon, so you can spend time reading through the slides and figuring out where you need to comment or not comment on this new proposed ruling. Now, it's actually not even a ruling, it's clarification. So again, it's something that exists, had many hurdles and hoops to jump through, and now they're eliminating or trying to eliminate most of those so that this can be an easier, streamlined business. But wait a minute, for who is the question? The other comment points to consider. So here we wanted to basically provide you with some of the things we thought about in regards to any comments you can find time to submit to the ATF on this one specifically. There's going to be all types of controls and issues. We already know that the ATF doesn't get around to inspect everyone every year. How are they going to manage and monitor this process, if at all? And is there any support or financing or inspecting separate inspection process for this? It's going to be very, very, very interesting and can affect everyone. So actually, go back. There's the docket number right there, and the part of the docket, the document ATF number that you want to comment on if responding to this and adding comments. Please do so professionally. Where to comment is right here on the slide, federalregister.gov or regulations.gov, and search for this information and respond accordingly. Think it through. Prepare your documents maybe before you get online with the .gov site. Maybe put all your comments into a Word document or something like that and just copy and paste it when you're ready, when you finally get there. All right. All right, what FFL should do now, obviously, with all of these rules and regulations, sort them out to what's final, what's direct final, what's interim final, what's proposed. JC and I are going to do our best to figure out a great communication piece for you every Friday. It might be a combination of video and email, might be a PDF, based on some certain things that actually occur and you need to react to as we move through this entire process, including the 4473, which we're getting to now. We will go ahead and provide our updated training opportunities, our training tools, our revised SOPs, our revised guides. We have over 300 of them in our VIP library right now that we're trying to push out to everyone. All of those will, in phases, get revised based on, the language, the box on the form that we refer to, the terminology that's used, the new state or federal requirements. There's a lot changing, guys. Thankfully, it's not 30 days. Thankfully, it's 3 months of feedback and comments, and then maybe 3 months of implementation for the 4473 to actually go live. So, but guess what? JC and I are already scurrying to figure out how much time and effort we're going to need to put in to make sure you guys get it right the first time. So, submit your comments, refer to this PDF when we send it out today. Um, Please don't flood us with questions. I mean, it's been crazy all weekend, as you can imagine. Last week was utter chaos between Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, trying to answer hundreds of calls and emails that were coming in. We tried to do our best, so we apologize. We apologize for not getting your questions answered, but that's what today's all about. All right, Michigan and Virginia, going to run this through real fast, and thanks, Rico, for your earnest diligence and nagging of me to get this on today's webinar. But yes, if you're in Michigan, there's Senate Bills 853 and 854, which are the typical ugly package we've seen over and over from the blue states, starting way back in California, and then Washington and Illinois and New York and New Jersey and Connecticut and Massachusetts and Colorado now, and who knows where next. Now it's Michigan. Who's next up in that neck of the woods based on the midterms? The elections are right around the corner. It's all about the vote and who's going to try. And Virginia, I forgot to say, Virginia, you guys are next. You guys got bad stuff happening in the middle of the summer, just a few months away. It all focuses here in Michigan on state dealer licensing fees, annual training and testing, background checks of employees, obviously, inventory filing, letting the state know this, that, and the other thing, who's buying handguns, how many handguns and how many handguns maybe per month can be sold. Anything goes with these state governments, these blue states, as they start to roll this stuff out. So here's the big thing. Get with your state lobby groups, whoever that might be. If you got state associations, national associations, GOA, Second Amendment, NSSF, all those organizations that support the industry, go after them, start talking to your liaisons and your local representatives, find out what you can do as an organization, as FFLs in your state, whether you have a group going or not. Get in touch with your lobby groups and figure out how you can help fight these fights. JC and I have been very active here in Colorado. JC's testified many, many times before the Senate and the House, along with other government agencies to make sure things happen correctly, or at least got amended so they weren't so stiff and so requiring. Maybe it's not this, but maybe it's that type of testimony goes a long, long way. So get involved and we'll keep you updated, but it doesn't look pretty. Again, start fighting now. Start also analyzing what is it gonna take to be a gun dealer in Michigan if your laws get passed. That's usually the impetus to get your butt in gear and get on the lobby bandwagon here, because who can afford 6 years worth of video recording on a security system, for example? That's in your bill in Michigan. We've had that elsewhere where we've gotten it down to maybe a year or two or 18 months or 24 months. But 6 years is financially impossible. You'll go broke just putting your security camera system in place. So, access control, surveillance burden is how often are they going to inspect you and what's the inspection going to look like? How do you have to keep your guns, secure your guns, monitor your guns, inventory your guns, report to the state your inventory records? It's ugly. And if you're in Michigan and you're listening to this right now, get involved fast. All right.
Yeah.
Over in Virginia, this is old news for the Virginia FFLs. We sent you guys a nice guide I think 2 weeks ago, on one of your laws that actually dropped and became effective immediately. It's the under 21. So anyone dealing with any under 21 customers from Virginia trying to buy long guns, this is for you. Okay, obviously Virginia dealers or anybody online, anybody in a neighboring state. If anyone under 21 from Virginia wants to buy a long gun, it cannot have a magazine that can hold more than 20 rounds. It cannot have in any way accommodations or adaptations for suppressor silencers, otherwise meaning a threaded barrel. It has to be cannot be center fire, and again, those characteristics also center fire semi-automatic, not including 22, obviously, rimfire. But if it has any of those three characteristics, or all three of those characteristics on a semi-automatic firearm, it is illegal to transfer it to anyone under 21. So anyone online, be careful if you're selling NARs with these qualifying issues, meaning 20 magazines, 20 capacity of a 20 or more in a magazine, or a threaded barrel. It's illegal for under 21 in Virginia. That's the rule. Okay. How they came down with this rule specifically to pass is crazy, because it first sounded like an assault weapon ban, but it's not. It's just an under 21 specific firearm with characteristics ban. So, but this is a precursor to other things that are probably going to happen in Virginia as well. Um, so you guys gotta pay attention. You gotta go after it. And you got to get your lawyers and lobby groups involved as well. So if it's an assault weapon going to a Virginia resident, just make sure they're 21 and over. Assault weapons with 30-round magazines and all types of silencers and threaded barrels are illegal in Virginia as long as it's 21 and over. So if you're a pawnbroker, you got to be careful. If you're an out-of-state transferee, if you're selling on gun broker, you got to be careful. So, got more questions than that? Give us a call. We have a guide we can send you and make it easy on your training your employees. All right. So, there's the cheat sheet, really, if you're under 21. So, what you need to do: review your inventory, train your staff, be careful of pawn redemptions, be careful of the rules for prior and post-law possession issues with pawnbrokers or guns and collateral. Do not overstate to your customers that this is an assault weapon ban, because it's not. It's just based on features, not a label of a firearm. So a little bit confusing. This first time we've really had something like this, but we're getting it in Colorado come this midsummer. We've got the semi-automatic ban going in place with, again, characteristics, and just another way for the Democratic or the blue states to go after gun dealers and this whole anti-gun campaign. JC, we're into the 4470. I'm sure this is going to be fun for you. You can handle this one, right?
All right. So the proposed Form 4473 is out there. It's on our website as well, so you don't have to dig for it. You can find it right out on our site. Again, comments open until August 6th, 2026. So, like I said earlier, grab the form, print it off, walk through it as if you're doing a transaction, and just see how this thing looks and feels to you with regard to the way your workflows happen on a day-to-day basis in the shops. Um, yeah. So, allegedly, and when you see the form, you'll know what I mean. The new form is going to streamline some of the identity and residence verification. Some things are changing about that. We'll talk to that here in a moment. Doubles the Form 4473 NICS transaction time frame. This is a big one. It's going to go from 30 to 60 days. And the thinking behind this was that there were quite a few zero tolerance revocations or proposed revocations of FFLs during that zero tolerance period, where people transferred a firearm on day 31, day 32, etc. So you're now going to have 60 total days. And obviously, you're going to have to be prepared for that just as you would the 30 calendar day. So, um, 2016-1, 2016-2, 2022-1, etc. These are all the rulings that were previously in place for all the different nuances of electronic record keeping using an E4473, utilizing electronic A&D records, etc. This kind of takes all of that and puts it together and grants you permission to do certain things. Some of the stuff that was required of you, like, if you transition electronic, you can scan everything but the last 3 years of 4473s. Some silly things like that, where it's where did 3 years come from and why 3 years, and I really, JB, do you know any FFLs that went back and scanned all their stuff? I mean,
I
that's
do
a
know,
hell of a lot of
I
manpower.
know a handful.
Really? That's
Yeah.
a lot of manpower. Wow. So, permits electronic forms and such, addresses private party transfer records, and the firearm handler check, which we'll talk about in a moment, and then incorporates a number of different prior ATF rulings and guidance and reorganize. That should have been highlighted, bolded, underlined. Definitely reorganizes. So today we have a 7-page form. What's in effect today? This moves it to a 4-page form, and possibly more, depending on how you look at it. There's 1 page of instructions, and the rest of the form is targeted at firearm handlers check, private party transfers, and then obviously a firearms transaction record as it relates to transferring a gun. So you can see there are immediate visible changes to this form. Um, the firearms literally move to the 3rd page now. So when you take a look at that 3rd page, if you remember years and years ago, probably 3 or 4 versions ago, the firearm was never on the front page. It is moving again back to that 3rd page. The first page is going to be a multi-use form. So what does that mean? That means you can conduct firearm handler checks or background checks on your employees utilizing this form. So we're still digesting the form. We've got a ton of notes already with regard to the form. Some things change on it that really kind of don't make sense to us. So we'll get some clarity next week when we have a conversation about it. The big deal or concern is the form changes dramatically. It's shortened, yeah, but it's been totally reorganized. So whereas today you have a form with boxes and you can take a pretty easy, quick look at things, and even then you still miss things or your employees still miss things. That removes a lot of that. There's no more section A, no more section B. It's all numeric and it flows that way. So we're going to be putting together training for this, obviously. So stand by on that. Again, this is a proposed draft. So you can see there a really big change. So firearm data moves again to page 3. Buyer eligibility shifts to initials instead of yes, no. So those prohibited person questions move to a certification format. So what does that mean? It means that the way the statements are written, the buyer is simply signing off that they are not. It actually says, I certify that I am not. I certify that I'm not. And go on. And then it groups a few of the prohibited person questions together and provides for one sign off. The advantage, cleaner, faster, potentially, absolutely. Definitely internally, you need to make sure that you have a good training process in place and that you're talking through these forms and anything you're doing internally as far as an inspection is concerned or auditing your paperwork. You need to make sure that you get your head wrapped around this. it really is a very different form. And I would say if as people adopt this, they're going to find some issues. So we'll work through those and we'll provide some really good training for you and your staff, so that way there is no question or concern about moving forward with this new form.
Yeah, yeah. Before I get to the next slide,
Yeah.
yeah, and we talked with, yeah, we sent this out on I think Friday.
Uh-huh.
And we sent out the live form, and we got that, and already, two of our vendor partners, software providers we work with to make sure the software is all correct for you guys. They're all panicking already, but wait a minute, this is not anywhere close to final.
Yeah. Yeah. Not anywhere close
Yeah,
to final.
yeah,
So.
yeah,
And it's not going to be required until probably end of this year to beginning of next year.
yeah.
So
So, yeah, but you
you'll have
need to
plenty of
make sure
time.
I'm sure your software providers who are using are, understanding of this, but make sure they understand, make sure whoever you're dealing with is staying focused on this and getting ready, because it will be a challenge for all of them once it is a finalized document.
Right. And if you haven't heard from your provider or they haven't posted anything or alerted you to anything, you may want to reach out to them. I know the last time that we had a revision to the 4473, there were some providers out there that got caught off guard. So make sure that they're communicating with you on how things are evolving and what they're doing. So. Major change 205, buyer identity, address, sex, race. We already talked about the race and sex thing. Race and ethnicity, 18A and 18B on the current 4473 are being merged. The sex thing, non-binary goes away. And just so everybody is aware, it's always whatever is on the driver's license. So their biological sex. So big change as far as address is concerned. This one's interesting because it is actually going to permit you to utilize non-governmental documents to verify current address. So, one of the big things we've always talked about is utility bills, right? Utility bills, it could be a government run utility or it could be a private entity. Like we have an electric utility here in Colorado that is a private entity. It is not managed by the government. So now you're going to be able to permitted to use things like a lease and a utility bill, etc., to prove current residence. All right. Buyer identity. Some of the things that are going to change also with address too is the county, parish, borough field is removed. The city limit question is removed. And there's going to be the state of residence piece is going to go away. It's going to be assumed it's the current residential address. So some of those things are going to change as well. So you're also going to be able to, and we have to get some clarification because if you look at the words on the form, um, it talks to attaching the photo ID to the form. And my argument is that you're trying to reduce the number of pages of the form, but now you're having the FFL basically make photocopies and attach things to the 4473, which we don't like. So definitely more flexibility, but we're going to evaluate this and make a determination on how best for you all to proceed. Let's go to 3. Eligibility questions become certifications. Talked about this already. You'll see those questions. The yes, no goes away, and it's just simply put your initials. And there'll be 4 of those, so you'll be looking for 4 initials for each one of those certifications. And major change number 4. Thank you. This is the attachments. This is going to be things such as attaching whatever you use for supplemental documents, attaching a copy of the license. And what do we mean by attach? It's not write it down as well as attach it. It's either write it down or attach it. So some ambiguity there. If I'm going to tell you that we're probably going to lean towards absolutely recommending don't get into the habit of making photocopies and attaching extra documents to the 4473. But if you do, please set that policy in motion and make sure it's maintained because it's going to get you in trouble if you move to something where you're always taking a photocopy of a license and attaching it to the 4473 and God forbid somebody forgets to do it. Instead of yeah, major change 5. Nix validity exceptions and new form uses. Obviously, we talked about that Nix window extending to 60 days. The private party transfers, that's on the 4473 today. The way the form has been proposed, it really leans more towards filling out that section first, that the page one first, and doing the background check, and then adding the form. So the workflow really is more consistent with the way the private party transfer is supposed to work. And then firearm handler checks, which is that background check for your employees. It looks like we'll finally have that. I think that became law in what, JB, 2022? So 4 years ago, and we
Yeah,
still,
on the Biden. Yeah.
yeah, under Biden, and we've been begging for it for years, and we're finally going to get it maybe next year. So that's good. All right. So submitting comments. Here's the key. We've got that 60-day window. We've already started putting together our comments, and we're working with a number of different groups out there with regard to submitting comments, trying to collectively put things together to make life a little bit easier on the folks at ATF headquarters that are reviewing these things and bundling as much as possible. But what we want to do is go through that form and just highlight anything you have questions about, and then submit those comments to the Federal Register. You can add attachments. So, if you want to do an electronic 4473 and make comments in Adobe and just save it so the comments are available for them to review, by all means, it's the 21st century. So make sure you're utilizing the right docket. You'll look for ATF 2026 -001 or that RIN number, which is the OMB number up top. Um, and make sure you get them submitted by the comment deadline. So
Yeah.
you'll go to regulations.gov and use the official comment form. You just state who you are, what type of FFL you hold, and whatever rules, whatever things that you think work or don't work, positive and negative, share it with them. So long term, yeah, potentially reduce burden. We'll see. We'll see how the training goes. We'll see what the feedback is on the form, and getting that information in the ATF, and we'll see what they actually, adopt, what they change about that form. So it's going to be messy. So do make sure that you take that form and work through your workflows locally to get a better understanding of how that new form can be adopted. If you're electronic, I'm pretty certain life will be pretty easy for you, as long as all the providers out there that can put this thing together electronically to make sense of it. So
Yeah, but guys and girls, listen, don't wait till the last minute. Don't wait 30 days.
yeah,
This
yeah,
month, put it on your agenda. Nobody likes this type of project, but if you don't voice your opinion, give feedback, then you're stuck with whatever rolls down back on you. So no complaining later if you don't complain now is what I tell people. So all right. All right, I'm going to run through this real quick, but these are two earth-shattering moves by the Department of Justice in case you missed it last week here in Colorado. This is fabulous for the industry, I think, my opinion. But Harmeet Dillon, who's a great a part of the Department of Justice overseeing Civil Rights Committee, specifically spearheading a group focused on the Second Amendment as per President Trump, his promise last year. She has been working behind the scenes diligently on many pieces of this, and here's what she did last week, in case you missed it. She actually went to Colorado, our state, thankfully, and one of the easiest states to break, in our opinion, based on lawyers or lack of lawyers or funding or lack of funding. This is an amazing move, so targeted, so focused. But they sued the city of Denver because they said, hey, city of Denver, you have an assault weapon ban. It's unconstitutional. If you don't get rid of it and abolish it, we're going to sue you. Of course, Denver, being Democratic, said, oh, we're not going to do anything. We're going to fight this to the hilt. And sure enough, on Thursday or Wednesday night, I think it was, the Department of Justice for the United States government filed a lawsuit against the city of Denver, and that we're going to be fighting the assault weapon ban. If this gets pushed through in favor of abolishment, it'll lay the groundwork and foundation for this to occur nationwide. JC and I think we talked about this a couple months ago We said this is what has to happen because of all these states running rampant and becoming radical with all of the state suppression of for FFLs and gun right the rights of gun owners. This is amazing. So we're going to keep well, obviously we're going to keep focus on this locally, but we will give you updates on this as well. It's an amazing, amazing move. Thankfully, it took forever, but it's happening. And then over on May 6th of last week, which is Thursday, they went back to Denver after seeing how they reacted the first day. And they said, hey, we're going to abolish you need to repeal your 15-round magazine, high capacity magazine limit, blah, blah, blah. And they said, obviously, Denver said the same thing. And they said, fine. And on Friday morning, they delivered the lawsuit against restricting magazine capacity to 15 rounds in Colorado, which has been in place for about 15 years now. And again, if this gets pushed through and decided in favor of the Constitution, it'll be foundational groundwork to go after the magazine bans across the country, which is great. So that's the summary. Then again, going after the assault weapon ban and eliminating the audience and possibility for a state or city or municipality to restrict assault weapons, and then laying the groundwork. This is going to be great. We feel there is strong, strong momentum behind the DOJ and the team they have in place and the Supreme Court, obviously, if necessary, to judge in favor of your federal government, our Department of Justice. So they do a lot of things we don't like. These two things we really, really are behind. Same thing with Colorado's magazine ban. Get rid of that, and we can go after it nationwide. Many, many, many states have some type of restriction on magazines, whether it be handguns, long guns, or both, or ages, etc. Just like we saw there in Virginia, that would be thrown out the window as soon as something like this becomes precedent. So keep your eye on this. It's Colorado. We'll keep you updated. Watch the news. It is going to make national news headlines as it proceeds. So stay in touch right there. It's fabulous. All right. Well, we had audit. We're still having audits, guys. The audit program by the ATF is not subsiding in any way, shape, or form. A new 4473 means they're just going to get refocused on you making mistakes on a new form. You know how that goes. So again, make sure you're keeping up with us on the training we put out there and provide. But hey, we want to, Greg, Honorable Greg, we forgot to mention you last month. So Greg up there in New York, great job, fabulous ATF audit. Jonathan, Igor, Chris and Joe, Eric, Tammy, Marco, and then Jerry, Manny, and Chris had great audits by our staff, by JC, traveling around and visiting. So thank you very much. And we got honorable mention over there for Ben in Arkansas, Corey in South Carolina, and Charlie in Oklahoma. So honorable mention on ATF audits and inspections, guys. If you have an inspection, remember we are here available to you before, during, and after. Make sure you download our preparation guide. If you've never been inspected before, go to our website under forms and tools, get that guide. So great job, everyone. Keep up the good work, and we're proud to highlight you guys. Just a reminder, we have our VIP website available for FFLs who want to get educated and stay smart and pass those inspections with flying colors, protect your longevity, protect your future. Go to our website. It's real easy, fflconsultants.com. See all the benefits we have for you and training materials. And again, we have a lot of stuff right there on our homepage that is time sensitive for you. The new 4473, the 34 Rule Reformation Project, and something else we put out there for you. So go grab it, quick and easy. Our restricted states guide is updated through our forms and tools tab for May 10th to include the changes for Virginia. You can grab that anytime. That's free for all FFLs. Go grab it. JC and I will be traveling. Where are we going? Jersey, Spokane, Washington. We got somebody up there. A couple in Dallas. If you guys, anybody in the Dallas area, if you need a quick FFL checkup, we can spread our expense across all of you for travel. So give us a ring. Houston, Fort Myers, Detroit, and Las Vegas. I'll be at the National Pawnbrokers Association convention in July. I hope to see a lot of you guys there, and we'll chat and have fun. All right, rapid fire FAQ, JC. How you doing? You all right?
Doing good, doing
Ready? Take a
good.
deep breath. We're gonna jump into this. Before we start with the online questions, I got to go back to Edgar. Thank you for the email this morning. He said, "Can you please make sure you answer these on the call today, as on the Zoominar?" All right, JC. First question:
Yep,
Can I accept an official change of address letter from the USPS for 26B supplementary government issue document?
sure, absolutely. As long as it says permanent and don't facilitate, that's always our recommendation. If the customer wants to do it on their phone, as long as the receipt for that does say permanent, you're good to go.
All right. All right.
Okay,
Second question from
26B.
Edgar. If I'm doing a 4473 to return a consignment pistol to the person who originally brought it in and on the same form of a new pistol he is buying, am I still required to submit a multi-handgun form?
Not if you're returning the firearm to the same person. That is
All
not
right.
required.
So very similar to gunsmithing and pawn redemptions, a
Yep,
consignment return would fall into that bucket.
yep.
All right. Good. Thanks, Edgar. And the rest of you, man, we do these things once a month. You can send those questions in before our Zoominars or literally send them in anytime, but we don't get to them every day real fast. We get them in at the end of the day when we're not doing anything else. So if you got a real question, call a text and get us when it's time sensitive. All right. All right. So back to the questions here based on today's Zoominar. How trustworthy is that process going to be talking about the NOTC?
How trustworthy is the process going to be? Well, it's the interesting thing about reviewing all of the kind of steps and ideas around the changes that are being proposed. The the video conferencing and verifying the person's identity via electronic means, etc. They're pretty standard practices and other things. I mean, I'm a veteran, and I use ID Me all the time to verify my veteran status with different organizations and such. You have to upload your information. There are examiners on the other end of those companies that are reviewing stuff. And now with AI, I mean, it's going to be crazy. So, I will tell you this: if you're going to plan on participating in NOTC sales, there's a little bit of a learning curve, and you're going to have to make sure your paperwork is uptight. So, because you don't have that customer sitting in front of you. So, if there are adjustments or corrections that need to be made, you need to be prepared for that.
Yeah. All right. Scott says, so this would only apply to in-state purchases?
It will only apply to in-state purchases where you have a license. So, no, if you're wherever you're located at, if we're in Colorado, so it only applies to purchases in Colorado to individuals that reside within the state of Colorado. And Colorado is a great example. We have a wait period, and that wait period has to be honored. So, and we have a point of contact state that requires you to submit your background checks through the state, and you have to wait on approval. So there are going to be some factors in this. For a state like Texas, it's simple because they don't have all those things, right? So
All right. Barry says, will FedEx and UPS deliver a firearm to a non-dealer?
that actually came up this morning. JB and I were talking about this stuff, and that's going to be a challenge. For the big boys, the big box retailers, chances are they have contracts, and FedEx and UPS are honoring their policies as it relates to the ability to ship firearms. But it remains to be seen whether or not FedEx or UPS are going to put something together that would restrict that transfer. So we got to look at that as well, and that applies to everybody. That's not just going to apply. If they come up with something, that's not just going to apply to little guys. That's going to apply to any FFL shipping a gun in state. So.
Yeah, this NLTC, the guys, if there's anything that kept me up this weekend getting ready for today, it was this one. So that's a little
Yeah.
concerning.
Yeah.
Scott
And
said,
honestly, I see states probably going to be enacting some laws around this stuff, unfortunately.
and then Harmeet Dillon will just go in and sue them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Scott says, I was in a meeting with a few Virginia FFLs, and they said effectively July 1st, all ARs cannot be sold in Virginia.
Mm,
So Scott, we next month, which is, I hate to say it, May, but we'll dig into that special for Virginia, guys. We didn't dig back in, but there's the rules for Colorado and Virginia effective either July or August. So if you're in those states, JC and we'll be able to dig into those this week and push out some notification to all of you on those upcoming changes. We just didn't have time to do it for today's webinar with everything that happened last week. So, what if Kim says, what if biological sex does not agree with their driver's license?
They got the equipment, they need to mark the appropriate box. Most everybody was required to go to the Real ID standard. So, and you know, there's only a handful of states that have the ability to put X or non-binary on the license. So, my general rule of thumb is pull the individual aside and say, look, I'm not going to argue with you. I don't have a position on this one way or another, but you have to put your biological sex.
Yeah. What is the site for comments again, please? Those will be, it's register.gov, and
Yeah.
all the information for the 4473 and the 34 rulemaking is in will be in the PDF that I send along with the video by end of day today.
Yep. It's federalregister.gov. So that's where you'll be able to find everything. You're just going to want to search by agency. So you'll go to the Justice Department, and then you'll go to the sub-agency of Justice, BATFE.
If someone shoulders a brace in the store and we do not do NFA sales, do we need to stop the sale or just educate the customer that they should have it registered as NFA if they want to shoulder it?
Yeah, definitely educate the customer. Say, hey, please don't shoulder that. It's not an SBR. And if you do have the intent of it being an SBR, there's a process for that, and you would have to register it. If their intent is to shoulder fire the firearm, then they need to be educated.
Yeah.
There's no tax. So,
Eric, I love your comments. So, guys, that's all the questions we got, JC. I think
really?
I think it's due to the link issue we had earlier.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, thank you guys. Thank you, John. Thank you, everyone. Listen, we're going to be pushing this recording out today because we have, believe it or not, probably a few hundred that didn't make it to the Zoom because of our link issue. So congratulations on you guys making it. We're going to update you on anything time sensitive that happens regarding Colorado and Virginia for the summer. We're going to be pushing out something on Fridays. So Friday, probably by midday, maybe right after lunch, we'll have that completed because we do travel and have to get back in the office and get that created for you, send it out to you. This is going to be a rocky road for about 3, 4, 5, 6 months, but take a deep breath, get ready. Don't do anything yet. Okay, we'll be very clear for you guys on what happens when there's effective dates in place.
Don't do anything yet. This is all proposed. Nothing is set in stone yet.
The comments are critical though. For the next 30 days, please try to get something sent in.
Yeah.
Let the ATF know what you really think in a nice business-like way.
Yep.
All right, everyone. All right, thanks. And we'll see you on our next Zoom and definitely in June. All right, take care.
All right, guys. Have a good one. Have a great week.